Hi, I'm Shade. Welcome to Coffee Bookshelves. Today we are talking about Delicious Monsters by Liselle Sambury. It is a horror psychological thriller, and clearly I've taken a brief break from Black Joy in order to read or listen to the audiobook of this story because I wanted to read more Black Canadian authors. But I know my friends will be laughing at me because whenever they recommend a book or a TV show or a film to me, I'm always like, is it sad? Is it scary? Does a main character die? And if the answer to any of these questions is yes, then I'm like, you know what? I'll put it on this pile over here and I'll get to it once I have finished like all the content in the world. But I'm so glad I made an exception for this book because it's a really excellent story. It is basically about two girls who are desperate for freedom, who are sort of tied together by this mysterious house with a secret. So you have Daisy, who's 17, and she lives with her single mother in Toronto, and they basically live paycheck to paycheck, and life is quite a struggle. And then they inherit this house, mansion really, in Timmins in Northern Ontario, and they decide to accept the offer because it's the chance for a fresh start and to turn their lives around. Then there's Brittany, who's 19, and she's an intern at a media company, and she co-founded a very successful YouTube channel about mysterious happenings. But she's at risk of losing this show to this big media corporation. But then she gets a tip about a house in Timmins in Northern Ontario with a very strange and violent history, and decides to pursue it because she thinks this could be the story that allows her to keep her show. The book has a long list of trigger warnings, mostly to do with abuse, so just be aware of that. So basically the stories of the two girls, Brittany and Daisy, are told 10 years apart, and they're both really sort of compelling voices. I would say 60% of the story is told from the perspective of Daisy. I found it quite hard to ride around in her head because I felt like we're such different people. I know some people really like reading stories by sort of, unlikable characters because they're like the tension between things that you would never do and what this person does is very exciting to them. I don't think she's unlikable. I think she's been through a lot. She can see dead people. That's not a spoiler. You find that out on the first page. So I think that experience and the difficulties that causes really shapes the person that she is. She's very prickly. She doesn't trust people easily. Very vulnerable, and she's a very intriguing character, but also, like I said, very frustrating for me, especially in the horror genre, where in order for the story to work, you need a character who leans into danger. And as somebody who's extremely risk averse, I'm like, what are you doing? I will never die by a horror movie trope. That is a vow. I will never be caught checking something in the attic or something in the basement, or let me go into this walk-in freezer to see what's making that noise. I will be caught, I will die on the stairs running towards the exit. I will never be like, oh, it's my birthday, I ran out of things on Netflix. Let me try this Ouija board. Oh, I found this dusty book that hasn't been picked up in centuries. Let me read these words out loud and summon something. No, resist the horror movie tropes. But Daisy is exactly the opposite. She's like, oh, something's going on. Let's dig further into this. We've got to find out what's happening. No, girl, run. So obviously that keeps the story barreling along, and it's such a great story. Like I can't really reveal too much because there's a couple of mysteries at the heart of it. As they are slowly revealed, that is really I think the heart of what makes this story so interesting and so involving. Liselle Sambury's prose is so beautifully precise and crisp and melodic as well. It's wonderful to listen to. Again, I listened to the audiobook, and I'm sure it's great on paper as well. She just has this way of untangling and pulling apart really complicated emotions of people who've been through some really intense situations and making their situation comprehensible to you. The plot is super tight. The mystery really drives the story along. It propels it. You kind of feel like you're hurtling towards the end. And the story is disturbing, it is unsettling, but it is gripping. And somebody, again, who does not like horror, I could not put it down. I was like, I have to know how this all ends. It was extremely satisfying. So I would highly recommend Delicious Monsters by Liselle Sambury.